What's going on? This is essay part two. So today we're going to talk all about the introduction. And the introduction basically has like three parts. Your first sentence is going to be what we call a hook. I think all of your English teachers will refer to this as a hook, and that is designed to try to get the reader's attention. We're going to talk about a couple different ways that can be done. And then the next few sentences, like if you have a five sentence paragraph, the next three or four sentences should be just like general information. Do not get too specific in your intro. You're not going to get too specific in your conclusion. The middle three paragraphs is where you can dig down a little deeper. But the intro, you want to stay general, like really big ideas, nothing too specific. And then that last sentence, the most important sentence of the entire essay, it's the thesis statement. So let's see here. I think I have that's right here. So the thesis statement, it's one sentence that summarizes what your whole essay is about, and it is always the last sentence of your first paragraph. So let's take a look at mine. I thought it would be helpful if I did a little sample here for you. So you can see that, let me get rid of myself. You can see that I have an introduction. This is a rough draft. The way I like to write is I do something a little bit messy, and then a day or two later, I go back in and fix it with fresh eyes. I think that's extremely important. Let me just talk about that for a second. It's good to have a peer, someone in your class, maybe a parent, maybe a teacher, whatever, somebody else look over your essay when you're finally done. But one of the things that I like to do is let the essay rest. Any kind of writing that I do, I like to let it rest. So I'll put together just like kind of a trash draft, just so some of the pressure is off me to like be perfect. Like it's okay to make mistakes on this first draft. And it doesn't matter. Like you could go back in on that next draft the next day or right after, and then kind of just mold it. I think of writing as kind of like pottery in art class. You just kind of like mold it, try to fix it a little bit better each time. So that first draft is just like, doesn't matter much. And it often helps if your writing rests a little bit. You look at it with fresh eyes. Like older writers used to say they would put it in a drawer somewhere, forget about it for a couple days, and then look at it again. Because your eyes, if you read it over yourself too often, you are naturally going to know what you wanted to say, and you are less likely to find your own mistakes. But if you look at it with fresh eyes, come back to it in a couple days, it'll be a little better. That's the thing about English class. I always say there's no one right answer. I can only tell you what I do, what works for me. The more you do this, the more you'll figure out what works for you. So let's take a look at my, or should we? No, hang on. Before we take a look at my stuff, let's just talk about what a hook could be. There are a couple different things you could do with your hook, but you always want to start out with that. Get that first sentence to attract the reader's attention. Now, you could pose a question. I like doing this. I like posing a question just because automatically when you use, and you'll see in my introduction, I use the pronoun you to the reader. So they are automatically involved in my writing. Okay. A couple other things you could do. You could tell a little personal story. Yesterday in class, we talked about anecdotal evidence. That's what you'll be using here. But another way to talk about a story is you could tell an anecdote, personal story. All right. Another thing you could do, quote. Maybe we're going to talk about that guy, Howard Gardner. Maybe there's a quote you found. You do not have to do any research for this essay, but if you want to look on Google, you do not have to cite where you found the evidence. But if you found a quote of what he said and you think it's really good for the essay, feel free to put that in. And then you could start off with some kind of statistic. Some kind of statistic would mean there's some kind of numbers involved. I'm just making this up, but you could talk about the dropout rate of a high school. Maybe it's 50%. I think that's high, but you could talk about how schools don't exactly focus on everyone's intelligence. They kind of focus on 2 or 3 intelligences. So if you want your intro to be kind of like that, you could. Just depends on what kind of hook you want. And of course, we just said that end sentence right there, the thesis statement. We already said that, right? So let's take a look at my intro. I would say this is pretty good. Like, can I fix it? Can I make it a little better? I sure could. Yeah, and I will. But this was kind of my first, and there might be some mistakes in this. I'm not too worried about that yet, but let's take a look. This is just a first draft. And I start off with that question. Have you ever felt really stupid sitting in class? Like I said, I'm hoping to get the reader involved, get them to be thinking, get them to be on my side, because I'm sure everybody has felt that. So automatically they're going to identify with my essay. And then I wanted to switch it up, like have like a short little sentence right there. It's good to have different sentence lengths because those short little sentences, again, can really grab a reader's attention. Have you ever felt really stupid sitting in class? Of course, we all have. But thankfully, we are all intelligent in different ways. There are actually 9 different types of intelligence developed in 1983 by a Harvard professor named Howard Gardner. So that's my kind of like intro, big, overall, nothing too specific. And then here is my thesis statement. In this essay, I will explain one intelligence that I'm good at. That's going to be what my first paragraph is about. One intelligence that I'm not so good at. That's my second paragraph of the body. And one intelligence I wish I was better at. So right there, that's how I'm hoping yesterday you were able to come up with those 3 different big ideas for your essay, because that's how you're going to formulate your thesis statement. So when you get those 3 big ideas, those are going to be the paragraphs. And then all you have to do, and then put them right in order. So my first paragraph, comma, second paragraph, that big idea, third paragraph. And you can start off that thesis statement with saying, in this essay, I will tell you about blank. And then you list your 3, just like I did there. Cool. Any questions? If there are, of course, I'm coming around to everybody. You can have the rest of the time to work on this. And then tomorrow, we're going to start in on the body of the essay, those 3 paragraphs in the middle. Then we'll get to the conclusion. All right.